Hello, my respected sir and my dear friends. Today, I, Divit Sapra, basically from first BCom FNA section D, will do case analysis on two cases. Case number one is Taj Mahal Hotel versus United India Insurance Company Limited and ORS, and the second case is on Harshad Chemanlal Modi versus DLF Universal Limited. Case analysis number one Taj Mahal Hotel versus United India Insurance Company Limited and ORS. Introduction. When you visit a hotel, you see many hotels provide a service for valet parking. You give them keys and they park your car. What if your car gets stolen in the valet parking? Is it the responsibility of the hotel or they can absolve their liability by the virtue of a contract? To answer such question, we will delve into a recent landmark decision where such questions were addressed for the first time by the Supreme Court, dated 14 November 2019, in the landmark case of Taj Mahal Hotel versus United India Insurance Company Limited and ORS Civil Appeal number 8611 of 2019. Let us first take a look at the history of the case. Facts of the cases. On 1st August 1998, a person named Sappan Dhawan visited Taj Mahal Hotel around 11 p.m. in his car Maruti Zen. Upon reaching the hotel, Sappan Dhawan, the car owner, handed over his car keys to the hotel valet for the purpose of parking, and then he went to inside the hotel with a parking tag given by the hotel valet. The parking tag contained a provision stating that the vehicle parked either inside or outside the hotel premises is at the request of the guest at his own risk and responsibility, and the hotel management will not be liable for any loss, theft, or damage that happens to the car. After around 1 a.m., when Sapan Dhawan, the car owner, came out of the hotel on the same night, the hotel management informed him that his car had been driven away by some other person. Upon making a further inquiry with the hotel management, it emerged that during the stay of Sapan Dhawan in the hotel, three boys had entered the hotel in a separate car. After some time, the boys came out of the hotel and they asked the valet to bring the car to them. While the valet was driving their car back to them, in the meantime, one of the boys came to the valet desk and took the key of the Sapan Dhawan car and went to the parking and then stole it. They ran away with the car and the security guard also tried to stop them. A complaint was being lodged at the police station, but the car remained untraced. Sapan Dhawan has got his car Maruti Zen insured with an insurance company. Thereafter, the surveyor was appointed by the insurance company, and the insurance company settled the insurance claim raised by the Sapan Dhawan, the car owner, in respect of the stolen car for a value of 2,80,000. Now, the initial proceeding took place. Sapan Dhawan executed a power of attorney and letter of subrogation in the favor of the insurance company. Thereafter, Sapan Dhawan, as a co-complainant with the insurance company, filed a complaint against the hotel at the State Commission. Claim was to seek compensation for the deficiency in the service and the payment of the value of the car. The State Commission first dismissed the complaint on the ground that an insurance company does not qualify as a person. Thereafter, the insurance company filed an appeal before the National Commission. On 20th September 2010, National Commission observed that insurance company had locus standi to file the complaint and sent the complaint back to the State Commission. In the light of this, the State Commission allowed the complaint and held that the law of bailment will apply and directed the hotel to pay a sum of 2,80,000 along with the 12% interest per annum and 50,000 towards the cost of litigation. Also, the State Commission directed to pay a sum of 1 lakh to the insurance company for inconvenience and harassment caused to him by the hotel. Now, the appeal went to the National Commission, to the National Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission. The hotel then filed an appeal to the National Commission. National Commission held that the hotel management liability cannot be precluded by a printed notice on the parking tag given to the car owner disclaiming liability. The National Commission also said that once the guest gave their car keys to the valet for the purpose of parking their vehicle and possession of the car is transferred from the hotel guest to the hotel valet, a relationship of bailment is established. Hence, the principle of bailment will apply. The National Commission also relied on various decisions by the foreign courts and applied the principles of infra hospitum, which is a Latin word meaning within the hotel, and held that if the guests are the property, if the guest and the property were within the hotel premises and any loss occurred to the guest property, there will be a strict liability imposed on the hotel. However, the National Commission modified the interest from 12% per annum to 9% per annum. The hotel appealed before the Honorable Supreme Court against the order of the National Commission by the way of a special leave petition. Now the contention of the hotel was that the hotel contended that with the respect to the local standard, the insurance company does not qualify as the consumer, and hence the insurance company had to stand in the case. The hotel also submitted that the decision of National Commission is erroneous is as much as the principle of infra hospitum is not established under the Indian law. The hotel further relied on the Supreme Court decision on Bombay Brazy versus Mulchand Agarwal and B. Datta, senior advocate versus management of state, and argued that bailment necessarily exists under a contract and the terms were summarized in the valet parking tag given by the valet to the owner of the car in this case. The hotel appellant also contended that they were not liable or any loss as the terms were specifically precluded under the terms stated on the valet parking tag, and the parking tag clearly clarifies that the hotel management would not be liable for any loss, damage and whatsoever. Now the contention of the insurance company were, the insurance company contended that they were eligible to file a joint complaint with the original consumer Sapan Dhawan, the car owner, in its capacity as sub-rogi. Further, the insurance company relied on the cases on Claus Mittelberg versus East India Hotel Limited and Hotel Hyatt Residency versus Atul Virmani, and argued that the duty of care owed by the five-star hotel is higher, and the hotel must therefore be subject to the highest standard of the insurance liability in case of the theft of good or any property from its premises. The status and the provisions involved were Section 148 of the Indian Contract Act 1872, bailment, bailer, and bailee defined. Section 149 of the Indian Contract Act 1872, delivery to the bailee how made. Section 151 of the Indian Contract Act 1872, care to be taken by bailee. Section 152 of the Indian Contract Act 1872, bailee when not liable for loss, etc. of thing paid. Now the question of law involved here are whether the insurance company had locus standi to file a consumer complaint as a sub-rogi, whether the hotel appellant can be held liable for the theft of the car taken for valet parking by the hotel management under the laws of bailment or otherwise. If the second question is answered in the affirmative, what if the degree of care required to be taken by the hotel, and at the last whether the hotel can be absolved of liability or by a virtue of a contract. Now the judgment of Supreme Courts were in the four issues. The issue number one is that complaint filed by the insurance company as a sub-rogi. While solving the first issue, the Supreme Court, relying on the case of Economic Transport Organization versus Charan Spinning Mills Private Limited, held that the owner of the car assured Sapan Dhawan executed a power of attorney in the favor of the insurance company. He also executed a letter of subrogation in the favor of insurance company and insurer. Therefore, a consumer filed by the insurance company acting as sub-rogi is maintainable as it was filed by the insurance company in the name of the assured, wherein the insurance company acts as the attorney holder of the assured. The insurance company and the Sapan Dhawan, the car owner, as the co-complaint. Hence, the court held the complaint maintainable. Second issue, hotel's liability. The Supreme Court held that according to the scenario here is vehicle possession is handed over to the hotel management for the purpose of valet parking. Therefore, it can be said that the delivery of the vehicle has been made for the purpose of Section 148 and 149 of the Indian Contract Act 1872. Hence, the law of bailment would apply as the car was handed over by a guest of the hotel to the hotel valet for the purpose of parking. The court contended that if five-star hotel provides free parking services, such services cannot be denied, even if it is offered gratuitously, benefits the hotel. Further, the court held that exists an implied consideration for the bailment contract created by the virtue of valet parking service provided by the hotel. Issue number three, the required degree of the hotel standard of care. The court held that once the car owner, who is also the guest of the hotel, gave the possession of the keys of his vehicle to the hotel management or valet, it is a duty of hotel management to return the vehicle in a safe condition upon the direction of the vehicle owner, as there automatically exists an implied contractual obligation on the hotel management upon getting the possession of the vehicle for the purpose of valet parking. The court held that general rule under the Chapter 9 of the Indian Contract Act 1872 bailment law is that in case goods are damaged or loss which is under the possession of the bailee. In the case possession of the vehicle is under the hotel, the bailee will be liable and the burden of the proof is on the bailee, and the bailee has to show that he had exercised reasonable care in respect of the bailied good. The court further observed that the hotel had not taken reasonable steps to ensure the valet car keys which are in the possession of the hotel management were kept in a place out of the reach of the third person and outsiders, and the car was parked in the safe location, or that there were adequate systems to verify the owners of the vehicle of a valet parked car. Hence, the Supreme Court held that theft of the Supreme servant's car was the result of the hotel's negligence. Also, the Supreme Court, on relying on the case of Port Swintalum Authority versus T.W. Wu and Company, stated that Section 151 and 152 of the Indian Contract Act 1872 does not distinguish between a gratuitous bailee and a bailee for reward. Now, the issue number 4, exclusion of a hotel liability by a contract. The court held that in a case of theft of vehicle given by the hotel for the purpose of valet parking, the hotel cannot be excluded from liability by arguing it was the due to acts of the third party and it was not beyond their control, or they are protected by the exemption clause on the parking tax. And the Supreme Court contended that the argument of the hotel on this count fails. The court further held that the hotel cannot contract out their liability for the negligence and that of the management in respect of the vehicle of its guest and any circumstance. Once the hotel guest gave the possession of his vehicle to the hotel management or valet, there automatically exists an implied contractual obligation on the hotel to return the vehicle in a safe condition upon the direction of the vehicle owner. The court further held it that even though there was a specific exemption clause mentioned on the parking tag, the hotel cannot exempt itself from the obligation under Section 151 and Section 152 of the Indian Contract Act 1872. The hotel still had to prove that any loss or damage to the hotel guest property was not an account of its negligence. Thus, the apex court ordered that the liability should not be affixed on the hotel due to want of requisite care towards the car bailed to them. Consequently, the appeal filed by the hotel was dismissed accordingly. Now, the conclusion out of this was that the consumer complaint in consideration is maintainable before the Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission if it is filed by the insurer as a sub-rogi and along with the original owner as a co-complainant. There is no precedent available in Indian case laws. Therefore, this case will guide and act as a precedent to the future lawyers and judges. This case also guides the way of using foreign judgments from common law jurisdiction. This landmark case puts the obligation on the hotel owners and operators to ensure the safety of the vehicles of the hotel guests, which are transferred to the hotel management for the purpose of valet parking, and hotel management should carefully re-evaluate their system, processes and procedures which they have been adopted in the order to discharge the hotel's obligation and duty of care when the hotel accepts the hotel guest car for the purpose of valet parking. Case analysis number 2 on Harshad Chemanlal Modi versus DLF Universal Limited. This case was decided on September 26, 2005, and the statutes and the provisions were Civil Procedure Code 1908, Section 16, Subsection D, 17, 19, and 20, Rule 32 of Order 21, and the Indian Contract Act 1872, Section 28. The appellants was Harshad Chemanlal Modi and the respondent was DLF Universal Limited and other. The prime rule applied was Section 16, Subsection D of the Code of Civil Procedure 1908 and Section 28 of the Indian Contract Act. First, the fact of the case was that the appellant Harshad Cheman entered into a plot buyer agreement with the respondent DLF for the purchase of a residential plot that was situated in Gurgaon, Haryana. The agreement was entered between Harshad Cheman and DLF in India. The agreement was in the standard forum contract. The head office of the respondent was situated in India. Payment was to be made in Delhi for the entered agreement. According to a aforesaid agreement, it was specifically provided under the clause 28 that the transaction would be subject to the jurisdiction of the Delhi High Court. The appellant made the payment to the respondent as per the schedule of agreement and in the said manner that was prescribed in the agreement. Every instrument was made by the appellant to the respondent. Despite all this agreement was unilaterally and illegally cancelled by the respondent on different grounds. To resolve the dispute, the original suit was filed in the court of Delhi by appellant for the following reliefs. declaration, specific performance of the agreement for possession of the property, and for permanent injunction. The defendant contended against the appellant by filing an application to amend the written statement by contending on the jurisdiction of the Delhi court to hear the present suit under Order 6, Rule 17 of Code of Civil Procedure. The court accepted that said contention of the defendant in the ground that Section 16 of the CPC, this court has no jurisdiction to entertain the case at hand. Aggrieved by the said order of the Delhi court, appellant filed a revision petition in the Delhi High Court, which was also dismissed by the court and held the decision of Delhi court was valid, and directed the applicant to bring the matter in the proper court that have jurisdiction to entertain the suit, and the same was transferred to the District Court of Delhi. Aggrieved by the order of the High Court, appellant filed a special leave against the said order in the Supreme Court of India. The present case was tabled by Apex Court to resolve the aforesaid question on the matter of jurisdiction and prayer that is pleaded by appellant. Now the quick facts are: the dispute arose between the appellant and the respondent on the land that is situated in Gurgaon. The suit filed by appellant in Delhi court, and the court dismissed the suit on the ground that it has no jurisdiction to entertain the suit. Appellant filed a civil revision petition in Delhi High Court, and that was also dismissed by the High Court. Now the case is tabled before the Supreme Court by special leave against the aforesaid orders of the court. Issues involved are whether the Delhi Civil Court has jurisdiction to try and entertain the present suit. The principal issues in this case was about the jurisdiction of the Civil Court of Delhi. In other words, the question was that which court a suit for claimed relief relating to immovable property that was situated in Gurgaon can be entertained. The appeal was filed in Apex Court against the order of Delhi Civil Court and Delhi High Court. Second, whether an agreement conferring the jurisdiction on the court can be valid. The other important issue that is hidden behind the main issue, and that can be game changer watertight key for the decision of principal issue, is about the agreement that conferring the jurisdiction as per Section 28 of Indian Contract Act on Delhi court as per clause 28 of the said agreement between appellant and the respondent. Can it be held valid? And if it is valid, then consequently the decision of Delhi Civil Court and Delhi High Court would be held as inappropriate, and automatically the principal issue would resolve. Now it was held, and the judgment was that Apex Court answered the issue on the same line as it was answered by the Delhi High Court. Supreme Court held that the Delhi Civil Court has no jurisdiction to entertain and try the present suit due to settled position of the law under Section 16 of the Code of Civil Procedure. The Supreme Court dismissed that the appeal filed by the appellant, since the dispute is related to the immovable property and the relief claimed by the appellant was for specific performance of an agreement and recovery of that immovable property. Supreme Court held that there is no case made out of by appellant against the order passed by trial court and confirmed by the Delhi High Court. Therefore, this appeal is dismissed. Second, Apex Court answered this issue by referring to the landmark case of Hakam Singh versus Game On India Limited. Supreme Court in the present issue held that the agreement could confer a jurisdiction to a court who is incompetent to entertain and try a suit. Supreme Court refers to various cases for answering this issue, as in the case of Bahrain Petroleum Company, where the court held that neither consent nor waiver nor acquiescence can confer jurisdiction upon the court, otherwise incompetent to try the suit. We can refer it in the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court it has held that the agreement cannot confer the jurisdiction of Delhi court, as it is incompetent to entertain the suit, as the immovable property was situated outside the territorial jurisdiction of Delhi court. The rules and the laws involved were the rules that were involved in the instant case is dynamic in nature, and Honorable Supreme Court take into consideration the Code of Civil Procedure 1908 and Indian Contract Act 1872. The grand norm for this case and the main reasoning lies for the decision of the Honorable Supreme Court comes from the rule applied from CPC, that is Section 16. The other rules that were applied in the instant case is Section 15 to 19 of CPC, along with Section 20, Section 21, Section 9 and Section 33, to just clarify the issue of jurisdiction and nature of decree that comes out from the court and that does not have jurisdiction to entertain the matter. Apart from the CPC, the rule that was applied in instant case in Indian Contract Act 1872, Section 28 of the Act was applied to answer the issue aforesaid with the relevant case laws. The Code of Civil Procedure 1908, Section 16 provision there to section 15 to 19 and section 20. Indian Contract Act 1872, section 28, and the case laws was Hakam Singh versus Game On India Limited, Bahrain Petroleum Company, and Kiran Singh versus Chaman Prasann 1995. The analysis were as follows. The case at hand is related to dispute of an immovable property, that is residential plot situated in Gurgaon, Haryana. The issue is about the jurisdiction of Delhi Civil Court to entertain the instant case, and the appeal for the same was tabled before the Honorable Supreme Court. The Supreme Court answered the question by upholding the contention of the respondent that the matter is under the ambit of section 16 of CPC. The key issue arose from clause 28 of the plot buyer agreement that was entered by the appellant and the respondent, as this clause confers the jurisdiction to Delhi court, but the immovable property was situated at Gurgaon. So there was dispute regarding the jurisdiction to entertain the suit in the court for specific performance. Honorable Supreme Court uphold the orders of the lower court and dismiss the appeal on the ground of section 16. While dismissing the appeal of Supreme Court have its ratio that involves mainly from section 16 of CPC, the court said that it is well established and settled principle in the case of immovable property that is recognized by section 16, which states that when the action against the residential or the property should be brought in the forum where that particular property is situated, a court in those whose territorial jurisdiction that particular property is situated, that is cause of action of any suit. Only after that the court has jurisdiction to entertain and try the suit related to that resident. A court has no jurisdiction over a dispute in which it cannot give an effective judgment. While discussing this law, the court also takes exception into consideration, and the exception to this in the provision to section 16. The provision is based on the principle of equity acts in personam. The personam here states that there is no iota of doubt that thought court cannot grant in a relief of remedy in case where the property is situated outside the jurisdiction of that court, but still it can entertain the suit where relief sought can be obtained through the personal obedience of defendant. In the present case, the provision has no application as the relief sought by the appellant is for the specific performance and the matter under the ambit of the section. Section 16, subsection D, particularly Supreme Court reiterated the well-settled principle in the case and stated that since the property immovable was situated in Gurgaon, the Delhi court has no jurisdiction in the matter as per section 16, subsection D of CPC. The court further explained the types of jurisdiction by bringing more clarity, as in the present case of pecuniary as well as the terrestrial jurisdiction is an issue, but the former one comes only on the later stage. So court did not take any consideration. Court cleared some nation that there was gray in the instant case about the jurisdictional issues and what effect does a decree have that is passed by the court and has no jurisdiction. A decree basically passed by the court having no jurisdiction is of no effect and its decision amounts to nothing. Speaking Judge C.K. Thakur J. noted an interesting point in the judgment that it is not a dispute by and between the parties that the property is situated in Haryana, but the dispute is on the perennial question that in which court a suit for specific performance of agreement relating to immovable property would lie, and that the answer was as aforementioned. Further, the position discussed in the consensus with the section 15 to 20, where the particular focus on the issue of section 20 as in the section in the registry section and deals with the case that is not the purview of section 15 to 19, but the court here is satisfied with the ground that matter is under the ambit of section 16D of CPC, as the relief sought by the appellant is for the specific performance of agreement respecting immovable property to execute sale deed and to deliver possession. And further, court has given reference of some case law while applying section 16 to present case, neglecting the contention of learned counsel on the issue of agreement that states only Delhi court has jurisdiction in this matter. Court said that the parties can confer jurisdiction to only court which have literal jurisdiction in matter, and exclusion of another court jurisdiction is possible in the case where two courts have jurisdiction on the same. Such agreement is valid, legal, and enforceable as per section 28 of the Indian Contract Act. In this case, the agreement is void, illegal, and unenforceable as it is conferring the jurisdiction of the court that is not having jurisdiction to entertain the present suit. To clear the reasoning and stand, the Supreme Court referred to the Halsbury Law of England, Volume 10, Para 317, to different case law on the issue of jurisdiction and legality of agreement that conferred jurisdiction to court. Finally, Supreme Court from the aforesaid reasoning that and due to precedent held that the Delhi Civil Court has no jurisdiction and there was no case has been made out of by the appellant against the order passed by trial court and confirmed by the High Court. Therefore, this appeal is accordingly dismissed and appellant was directed to present the suit in a competent court for the specific performance. This case is classic example of juridical mind and how they are reading between the lines. The case of prima facie is the straight one, and the contention raised by the learned counsel is something that put judicial mind to the ponder upon uncharted territory. Now, at the last, the conclusion and the personal opinion was that the case was of civil discourse in nature, and the agreement for conferring jurisdiction is itself fundamentally wrong due to the subject matter of agreement, that is immovable property. The suit is pertinent to the enforcement of the claim by appellant in the competent court in the literal sense, and not as per the agreement that holds no good as it was conferring a jurisdiction on a incompetent court in that matter. Some key aspects that were involved in the prima facie may confuse us regarding the jurisdictional issue under Section 20. The same contention was forced by the learned counsel for appellant, but the court clarified the issue and did not take the argument in consideration while deciding the issue of jurisdiction. The case is of great reverence for the issue related to the jurisdiction of immovable property. The ratio in the matter while dismissing appeal was particularly Section 16 of CPC and the already late precedent in the different case law, especially for the explaining the illegality of Clause 28 of the plot buyer agreement. Court referred to Kiran Singh versus Chaman Pasman 1959 and the New Mahfal Company Limited versus Shankar Lal Nayandas Mundade and to some other cases also. The observation that is of the utmost importance in the case at hand is listed below. The agreement is a standard form of contract. The instant case is related to specific performance of a contract and the possession of immovable property. Agreement and other procedure related to it was commenced in Delhi, but the property was situated in Gurgaon, Haryana. The issue raised up in Delhi court as per clause 28 of agreement as respondent illegally and unilaterally cancelled the plot buyer agreement. Court has observed the illegality of clause 28 of agreement that confers jurisdiction on the court of Delhi. The court has observed that since the property is not in Delhi, so Delhi court has no jurisdiction. The observance is too clear and too straightforward. Literal application of Section 16. Court observed that no reliance can be placed on Section 28 of the Indian Contract Act as well as to the Section 20 of the CPC. The court straightly rejected the applicability of the Rule 32 of Order 21 of CPC, which relates to execution, as there is no such decree is passed in the case at hand in accordance with the law, since the matter itself is of dispute of jurisdiction on the very first issue. A well-established principle of Section 16 was just reiterated by the Supreme Court in the present case, as it was lying under the purview of that principle with the help of illusion and various case law. The case helps us to understand not only the core concepts of CPC, but it also nexus with the law of contract and also an iota to touch to the specific relief act. The case presented us to a complete understanding of jurisdiction of the court in civil matter, as all the sections are discussed at length. Also here, the case presented us a new dimension of legal thinking on the issue of contract law as in accordance with Section 28. In CPC, court uniquely explained the provision to Section 16 as how it can be exception and can be fit in present case. In all and all, the case comes with the great reverence, and it brings us to believe in lower judiciary also as the same thing said by the Supreme Court and dismiss the petition. Thank you.